Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends, seen on the internet 24 hours, 7 days a week. I want to introduce our very talented co-hosts, Miss Jackie Williams.
Hello, everyone.
And Mr. Henry Hatter.
Good afternoon, Ron.
And welcome to all our listeners and viewers out there. News brief. Those using Roundup should think about this product before using it. It may cause cancer. We've seen all of those commercials on TV and multi-million-dollar lawsuits that have been awarded to a number of people. So I would use caution if you use this substance. All right. Another news brief. Let's take a moment of silence, okay, for those affected by Hurricane Doreen that has brought death and destruction and hardships to thousands. And that heck of a hurricane is still out there raising havoc. Now let's go to global warming. It's becoming more and more apparent that we as a nation and the world must come to a consistent reasoning that climate crisis is real. Look at the destruction Hurricane Doreen has unleashed in the Bahamas, the United States. Let's look at other places around the world. Polar caps are melting, resulting in ocean waters rising. Where once islands stood for millions of years are no more. Icebergs are melting, clogging up waterways navigated by ships. Permafrost is melting that also has been around for millions of years. Some experts say this is climatic, but nowhere is there evidence. No evidence exists. Scientists say if this is a climate crisis, if it's not corrected, we may not be no more. So I would take this climate crisis very seriously because it's real. My friend, what is your thoughts on climate crisis? It's climate crisis.
Ron, are you looking me in the eye? Since 2000, I've been a proponent of that there's real climate change.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I have a degree in engineering, and that makes me closer to making some judgments that are closer to truth than not. It's been demonstrated in laboratories that to, for example, increase the amount of carbon dioxide in a room, which carbon dioxide traps heat. And the heat then, prevails over the earth in the upper atmosphere. It traps heat, and the heat does not escape back to space. And then we have all of these various compounds that help to trap heat. And we have the smoke and the dust and stuff like that that traps heat. And people have thought about this and studied for a long time. They were not dummies out there. They were not philosophers. They really studied this and got to a point where they could demonstrate how this happens. And I'm sure that people who don't believe in climate change have never done that before. So they have nothing to teach. And what is being told you today does require some degree of attention. And we should listen to Ron has already mentioned about the polar caps falling apart by the rising levels of the sea around Florida and around New York City. Those areas are rising. People will have to move away from the beaches over time. I think I read that New York City will rise 1 to 2 feet by the year 2000. I mean, the next century. 2100. Now, if it rises that much, you gotta move back. And there's stories written, not stories, but research data that's on the internet that you can read about this. And it's going to take some really courageous people around the world to pull this together, to save us from ourselves. And besides, it is predicted that human beings have only 42,000 years to live on this planet. Their genetic term will come to an end. They will age out of it. Stop and think about it. They will age out. We will no longer exist. We will molt into something else. And we're increasing that potential as we change the environment.
You know, just recently, in fact, I think there's another debate, but the ones that are applying for the next president of the United States, they have been talking about climate change, all right, and this crisis. All of them, all right. I think they got 40 minutes each to discuss this very serious concern. And I've never seen the weather the way it has been lately, okay?
Well, they're talking about, when they were talking about the global warming, they brought up some very good points. And the number one point is that all of the things that the United States did to make progress with global warming, the Trump administration is turning back. So before we go into opposition, I just want to list some things that they've done. They went to they went to the Big Four, and they told them they no longer have to do with fuel efficiency. But I'm very proud of the Big Four who said that they don't want to do it, that they want to keep doing the fuel efficiency to help save the earth. So I appreciate that. And then they talked about, even just last week, the Trump administration is rolling back the light bulbs, which saves energy. So when you don't believe in global warming, you endanger us by your decision making. And Henry, as you stated, it's a scientific, you have to trust the scientists. Well, the Trump administration has laid off and relocated and several of the scientists that work on global warming. And so now they don't have those working on that to give you that data. And then when they did have that data, the Trump administration would not allow the data to be published. And so you have, as you stated, that the people that are running for president in the Democratic Party, they came and they were, they had a forum. And one of the things they brought up is what you were saying, the sinking. And I found that very interesting because my best friend lives in Miami, but they said Miami will be underwater.
Yeah.
They said Miami would be underwater, California will be underwater. And then they mentioned something even more. They said that the insurance companies will no longer insure properties that keep being underwater or devastated by these hurricanes and whatnot. So this is a big conversation that we need to have in the United States because, like they say, you keep rebuilding. I think a farmer, and I can't remember exactly where he was located, but he stated that he no longer can do crops because his land is underwater. So where he used to be able to have good crops, it's nothing but water now. So he had to move back where he would plant his crops, and so he's lost money. So this is a big conversation, and I know everybody loved the nice Miami and all that stuff. Just to even think that our choices of not saving and not recycling and not doing those energy efficient things that we have lost, we're going to lose places in the United States that we like to, we enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Another great danger is, and we haven't thought about this because we don't see it, but stop and think about all the rain that hits the earth, flows into drains, ditches, rivers, and streams, and out to the ocean, carrying a rich topsoil down to the bottom of the ocean that supports life here. So over time, we will pay an incredible price for that. Stop and think about that. We need, and I think that most soil, the topsoil that supports vegetation is about 6 to 8 inches deep, and as an average.
And so now you're saying it's pushed down.
Well, you flow it out. It floats out as particles in ditches, rivers, and streams. It gets out to the ocean and sinks in the ocean. We're taking away the part of the earth that supports life forms.
Well, one of the good things that I did hear them say is that we need to teach our kids, because if you notice, a lot of children are into energy efficient things, and so recycling is so funny. my husband talk about me because I'm a recycler. I'm reading the tab. Oh, I can recycle this. So I have my little red and I take it out and it's full every time. And I make sure, I follow the rules. My aunt just relocated and moved and bought a new house. And I went and found where they recycle in her area. Because these things are good because, you ask the question, what can I do? What can I do? You can turn your lights off. If you're not using lights, don't leave your TV running. And I think in the middle of, not too long ago, consumers asked for people to turn off their air.
Turn it down.
Turn your air down. So they're telling us we're in trouble, you guys. But if you're not going to listen, it's just going to backfire and we're going to have a lot of bad results from us not paying attention to them. So even in Genesee County, we just experienced, they asked all of us to turn our air down for so many hours or something like that to reserve to reserve energy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my last comment on this, and no disrespect to the president, but we're zigzagging. You said thanks to the 4 or 5 nations that came back and stood together and said that we're going to respect the idea that there is warming. Well, remember, as we move into the future, we're zigzagging a little bit. We don't follow a straight line. So we will always follow that projected line that's best for humanity. Yeah, this is, and I'm sure that after we all think about that as Americans, we will know what the right direction to move in.
Now, what I'm thinking is this. Solar power is pretty much free. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that the current administration, frowns on solar energy and keeps feeding these lies, to the fossil fuel industries? And they are the major, not just in the United States, but around the world, okay? I guess China leads the pack as far as pollution, okay? In other places. And I just found out here a few days ago that all this fire in Brazil,
the Amazon fire,
it was started by people, okay? So that they can burn, and that's the percentages, was it 30 or 40% of
20% of the available air.
Okay.
Oxygen
is
comes
what
out of the rainforest.
In the rainforest.
Comes out of the rainforest.
Yeah.
All right.
How much did you say? You said 20?
20%.
I thought it was higher than that.
That's what I read, but I thought it was higher too.
I thought it was higher than
40%.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're destroying the. Go ahead, Henry.
No, I hope that's what I read on the last statistic I heard. I thought it was much higher.
Me too.
And people were dramatizing, they were politicizing this burning of the rainforest. Oh, the rainforest gives us 80% of the oxygen.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
And gives us the wood and has variation in wildlife and food life and all of that stuff, and a shelter to many people who live in that area. So the rainforest really does occupy a special position in the global perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Ron, you said, but why is it that we're not paying more attention to solar power?
Mm-hmm.
It's because where's the money?
In the fossil
fuel.
Yeah, that's where the money is.
No.
And that's where the big contributors, what do you call them, where they lobbyists? Those are the big lobbyists.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want to put them out of business. That's why when President Trump became president, he promised all the coal miners that they will restore coal. Well, I think we talked about this on this show. Coal will never be what it used to be to us because we have replaced it. And so in order for us to continue down a healthy path,
mm-hmm.
we don't need to restore that because a lot of people died.
Yeah, we will never go back there. But you're right, solar energy is rising into prominence, and that's
mm-hmm.
where we're going to go. The young people are going to move in a different direction. We're still trying to stay with the status quo. People support the status quo because this is how they derive their money, and this is how they see the future and don't want
Just
to
like
risk
the
it.
electric
Yeah.
cars, you know, I have people in my church that have the electric cars. And though I like them, they're nice, but you know, like you said, our mindset has to change because I really don't want an electric car.
The electric car, can I just say this about the electric car? The electric car is a farce. Now, look at this, guys. We take and generate electric energy from coal, low sulfur coal. When we generate electricity from coal, there's a conversion in energy loss. Coal is only about maybe 45 to 50% efficient. And then we have to convert it to steam. And that, we have an energy loss right there. And then we have to convert that to electricity by driving wheels, dynamos and stuff. So you have a tremendous loss in energy efficiency when you go from coal to electricity. And then people say, well, I'm saving gas, I'm saving energy. No, they're not. The energy's already been put into the system, expended. You don't see it. And besides,
So you're saying you're losing, even though you're not
Well, you
using
figure it out.
gas.
You do the math.
But I'm saying over time, though, even though the conversion to get there, but over time, aren't you saving the energy? I mean, aren't you saving by not having that car have the emissions that the gas puts out?
Yeah, that way you move
You know what
the
I'm saying?
emissions
Yeah.
away from the power plant. I mean, you leave the emissions at the power plant, and you save those
Yes.
at the pump.
So it's a plus and a minus.
It's both a plus and a minus.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, people have heard me say this, and I want somebody to call in and argue with me that it is not true. And make sure that they know their math and their energy conversion.
Because you Gary do it.
Well, other people will call in and say, that's a dummy.
No, I mean, it's thought provoking because when you say that makes sense there, like you say when you do the conversion, because I am not an engineer. So when you just gave that layout, it sparks some interest in me as to how far, I mean, because sometimes we would rather have a little gain than no gain.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the electric cars are not just 100%
No,
moving
they're
in
not
that
what they're
direction
supposed to be.
but you're losing. But it's still better than them putting out the emissions of the.
You're going to get the emissions whether you can pay it for it now or
Or you're gonna pay for it later. So we're paying for it now
pay
for the electric car.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
And folks, that call-in number is 810-250-7365. That's 810-250-7365. We welcome your comments. Back to the rainforest again. What they want to do is plant soybeans. You know, that's hard to believe. They want to plant soybeans when all of that hundreds of miles of rainforest are destroyed. That's crazy, isn't it?
No, because the world's population is still rising.
That's
we got
true.
to find a way to feed these people. And soybean has the ingredients.
Well, we got plenty of soybeans. We're sure not selling ours. The United States. Now you can call in and tell me about that because we got plenty of soybeans
That's
that
only
our farmers
looking
have.
ahead. We're looking
I'm
ahead.
just saying,
That'll be
but
enough for today, but not tomorrow.
Well, we ain't selling nothing right now. With this,
we have plenty. They said they got to
terrible
store it
China.
up where mice is even eating it. So
Yeah.
you know we have plenty here
But
in the
we got
United
to plan
States.
ahead, guys.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can't be caught with their.
So you don't think there's no loss in the Amazon by the fires? You're saying that you
Oh,
don't.
yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be
There's
plenty of
right.
loss,
That's
and
a
then,
sad-
But
and then,
I mean, but isn't that a sad
environment?
loss?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when your your
It's
leader
done
is.
purposely.
Yeah, your leader is egotistical, where he didn't want to take the help. I mean, that's what I don't understand. If something that affects everybody, and that's what the rest of the nations were saying, is that they're standing together, and we're not a part of the agreement. And at the last thing, and as big as it is, at the last meeting that they had, the president was absent.
Well, you know, the president is right in part of this argument. You know, there are two sides to every argument. So
Let's get to the part where he was right, because I want to hear about
Well,
that.
you know, if people are not paying their fair share.
That has nothing to do with
yes,
climate.
it does.
No,
Yes,
Henry.
Yes, it does. when we
Everything is not money. Everything is not monetary. And this is what this guy, our president.
I said I would be nice.
I know that's okay. No, that's okay. I want you. I want us to
be
be.
councilman today.
Okay, well, I'm not. I'm not running, so I'm good. But this is what I want to tell you, that you have to understand that everything is not monetary. So if that's how you look at everything, then that's how you view everything. And if you look at this president, I've been reading books about him. I've been listening to commentaries about him. Everything is dollar and cents for him. Everything that we have as a value is not dollar and cents. So the climate agreement is not about money. It's about us coming together to do better in what we're doing. Because what they did say in the summit was that we're down. We're doing better with ours. I think we're at 20%, but the rest of the nations are at 80%. And I think you said China is number one. I believe they said China is number one. So our point of getting together was to encourage everybody else to decrease.
Yeah, the solar, the carbon footprint.
Yeah, so we were asking them to decrease. So it wasn't about who's paying their share. So let's don't get lost don't get lost in the conversation. Let's make sure the main thing is the main thing.
Okay, can I just say this?
Go ahead.
The United States has been a leader forever in pollution control, finding out ways to mitigate pollution, whether it goes into the water, the air, or the land. The rest of the world has not done that. We have put billions and billions of dollars into these solutions just to curb pollution control. Well, other countries have not done that. And now they want us to go in and, with all of the progress that we've made and the sacrifice that we made, to do more than give the United States credit for what they've already achieved, to bring parity to the whole effort. Everybody's got to be paying the same. And the United States has been incredible in reducing pollution control around the world. They've been number one.
Right, but don't they look at the United States as the parent? We're the parent. This is what they say all the time. We're the parent.
Yeah.
So what do you do for your children? You take care of them until they're able to stand alone. So if China don't want to do it, then we need to have conversations, positive conversations, kind of what our conversation was prior to us viewing. We have to take off the negative connotation, and we have to have positive conversations, because negative, all it does is it drives negative.
Yes.
So we have to be positive. So even if they are not paying their share per what you're saying, I understand that. Have a positive conversation. Saying mean stuff, just like when you were a kid. Mean stuff don't make you do anything, does it? All that does is make me resist you. I can't hear you if your conversation is not right.
You didn't have the same parents I had.
And should I just thank God right now?
No,
I mean,
but if they said, now be cautious about this, Henry, and stuff like that. Don't do this and don't do that. Have some restraint, and you won't go to jail. And stuff like that.
My mother said,
or you may not be killed.
My mother and my father tell me that there's consequences to everything that you do. So yes, we in that same line. So my point is, as a parent of the rest of the nations, we have to teach where there's room to be taught. And so we understand that some people are new at doing some things that are just not doing the best. So we have to come in, like they said, we are the leader. The United States should be the leader. So we should be the leader in creating electric cars. We should be I don't know about these self-driving cars. I'm not interested in those. Again, that must be an age thing. I'm not interested in somebody else driving and I don't have any control. But all of those different things, we should be the leader. We should come to the table and we should be giving them assignments of what they need to improve on. Yeah, monetary things can come up, but that should not be the main
I know, but when it's in the population, when it's a characteristic of all of us, me too, and it's difficult to admit that you have a character that matches up with everybody else. We all are driven by money.
But some people are driven too far. They're speeding.
Yeah.
They're speeding because
Okay.
sometimes we lose control of what the
Yeah.
main point is. And so you can have all the money in the world and then you can have a nice house in Miami. And if you don't do anything about climate control, it's going to be underwater.
Yeah.
So now, money it's not going to trump you to be able to not be affected. So my
No
point
pun
is,
intended.
no pun intended. But you still have to understand that you have to do something about climate.
Yeah, and I agree. And Ron, there's no way I can beat this woman in a debate. I have to concede that she's really.
No, today you gave some really good information, Henry, and I appreciate that because I like to be taught. You know, it says that you die when you stop learning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I appreciate being updated about, you know, when you being an engineer. That's good information because some of us don't have all the information. We listen to things, but we don't listen closely enough to learn what we need to learn. So with that, we all need to be recycling.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Exactly.
It might take a second, but get a recycle bin. They have them free for the city of Flint. They have a website that you can go to and it's recycle. They have free bins that you can get and they will pick it up. Or if you're not in the city of Flint, you could take it to a location. So there's ways that you can help with climate control right here in Genesee County.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And you're talking about the things that will benefit us all.
Yes.
Exactly.
Not just to benefit you,
Yes.
but so that we have a staying power where we can get along with each other. We can work in a group process. That's the
Yeah.
challenge to life, to work in a group process so that we all benefit by the same opportunities, so that that we can get along with each other. And without that, we can't survive as a society. And this is the very nature of what you're talking about. It's survival.
Exactly.
Just because you say, well, I'm only going to live 80 years, so I'll just use all of my, use everything I can right now and burn everything.
And not looking for,
yeah.
you're not helping
That's
out the
yeah.
next generation.
We gotta look ahead.
Yes.
And we can't use age, race, and gender as obstacles in the way. We have to do it collectively.
Exactly.
Good information, Henry.
You know, and not only as I mentioned, the group has mentioned, you know, about this global warming. Not only is the water going to rise, but also the crops are going to fail. Okay, prices of food is going to increase dramatically. Okay, because there'll be so many people buying for the little amount that probably could be harvested or what have you, and it's going to be a mess, people. It's really going to be a mess. So think about it. Okay, recycle, as Jackie was talking about, as much as possible, and get with your state representatives and senators and so forth, and encourage them. All right, to do a little more work on this global crisis, because it really is a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I like what Jackie has done now? Most people may have not paid too much attention to this, but Jackie has argued these pluses and minuses about issues. But she's also recommended a proposed solution, something that you should do. Anybody who comes in sits at this table and just argues one way, and that's all.
What is that solution? Because we got about 30 seconds left.
Oh, I'm just talking about she recommended solutions.
Mm-hmm.
She said that we need to do better. We need to get away from this mindset of money driving everything. So,
Right, exactly.
And that's where we need to go as people who sit at a round table, rather than just argue from one month to the other the same old issues that never end up with any measurable results.
And with that, we must bring this segment of the In My Opinion show to a close. This is Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends saying until next time, stay focused.